Alright, so you guys absolutely crushed it on the previous video, and I've listened to your guys' requests because right in front of us we have what Walmart is calling their ultimate rollback deal. Because right here we have a pre-built PC that we're going to go ahead and take a look at. This one in particular costs $7.99, a part of Walmart's holiday deal, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, or whatever you call it. Sale's still going on. And with RAM prices being how they are right now, overpriced, very expensive, we're gonna go see if it does make more sense buying this pre-built computer versus building it yourself. But it's always a gamble when you're buying these pre-built because we don't know what kind of components they're using, what kind of motherboard it has, PSU, nor are we informed what kind of graphics card that it has aside from being an RTX. Well, we're gonna go ahead and dive in and see what kind of components we're using. And yes, timestamps to everything will be in a video description down below for your pleasure. And stick around to the very end because I do plan on taking this machine apart and seeing how much it would cost us if we actually bought this all out of pocket and build it ourselves. So all that and more in this video. So first of all, its specs, Windows 11 Home. This is using the AMD Ryzen 5 8400F. 16 gigs of DDR5 RAM, and of course we have a 8 gigabyte VRAM 5060 RTX. 1 terabyte storage, and all the other components is a mystery aside from this is an air-powered PC, not liquid cooled. So unboxing this machine, this is a cyber-powered, which the unboxing experience pretty well organized. Of course we have the peripheral components included, which is quite nice, but we typically will throw this away. But the keyboard this time is RGB, which is interesting. It's always recommended upgrading that because those will give you a headache if you're gaming with those type of peripherals. There we go. Handles are included, so it is recommended to flip upside down before removing. So far, packaging is really good. We got a goodie bag, which included the RGB mouse, not bad. Instruction, power cord, and our little Wi-Fi antennas. We'll find out later if it's using Wi-Fi 6 or not. And here is the PC. Very standard, very minimum. This does feel like glass, and it does have a nice silver bottom right here. Let's go ahead and remove the side airbag and see what kind of GPU, brand GPU this thing is rocking. I like these side panels. This is actually not bad for a budget PC. It has like a little side door. What do you expect to find on those fancy PCs? Airbag removed. And my truck just fell. And the GPU that this is rocking is an MSI. Very impressive. And it's actually a 3-fan GPU. Damn, this is very clean looking. It's light, so it doesn't sag at all. The CPU cooler is beefy. I like that. It's using CyberPower's own CPU cooler. And the motherboard is a true dual RAM channel too, and it's using a 16 gig Triforce RGB RAM stick, which is quite impressive. Upgrades, you do have a M.2 SSD slot right there if you need it, so you can easily expand the storage. And you do have a standard storage right there from MSI, which is actually nice that everything in this board is MSI. Even the board itself is MSI. But of course, you do have your heat sinks missing on the motherboard, unfortunately. Which, if you like to, you could easily add that later on. They sell them for cheap on Amazon. Wire management, it's pretty clean. Even on top. This is definitely a nice pre-built for its price. And speaking of price, grand total with taxes and everything, that's how much it cost me right there on the side of the screen. The I/O ports that we have here is HDMI display, don't use that. USB-A, Ethernet, you do have USB-C. USB-A, more USB-As, your Wi-Fi antenna connectors, audio ports, and then for the GPU, you do have 1 HDMI and 3 display ports, and a on and off for your power supply right in here, which I'll take apart in a little bit. Then right above here, you do have your power, your LED lights, USB-A, USB-C, and your audio ports, as well as LED feedback lights. But now let's see what's behind this side panel and see how organized it is. CyberPower, comparing them against iBuyPower, a lot more organized, I gotta say, out of the box. And you do have additional HDD slots right here, but I'm sure you could probably fit like an SSD drive in there if you absolutely need to, because there's no additional storage. There is additional space here, which is interesting. But wire management wise, it's not bad back here. Now the part that I personally would like to know, I'm sure everybody else does, what kind of power supply this machine is using. They never disclosed that, nor did they really tell us what's the wattage. So let's remove this. Yeah, if you're wondering what kind of tool set I'm using, I'll have this linked in the description down below, as well as the box cutter I was using. I know I get asked that a lot. So here is the power supply. I was really just wedged in there. And here is the power supply. So by default, it's using a standard 600 watt Apevia 800 plus gold power supply, and the spec numbers are right there. Of course, this is a pre-built PC, so it's not going to be modular. So you have all this excess wire available right there for future upgrades. You can't remove it, unfortunately. But it looks pretty clean to the most part. I'm not too familiar with this brand, so let me know in the comments if you think this is reliable or not. But I'm sure later down the line you could easily replace this and upgrade it with a better component. But for the 5060 GPU that you're using on this machine, should be more than enough. Now, premium feature that this tower is missing is there's no screen on top of here, so you're probably gonna have to buy like an aftermarket one or DIY something if that is your concern. On the bottom, however, you do have a screen door right here. Let's remove some of this foam. So the bottom is somewhat protected and an elevated thanks to these little legs right here. So you're definitely getting what you're paying for, but I'm glad to inform you that the side glass actually is glass, not plastic. So it's less prone to get easily scratched and look ugly over time. So yeah, let's turn on this PC and run its numbers and see what kind of performance numbers we're getting for gaming. Of course, this is a 5060. Which is not initially to run 4K gaming, if that's your thing, but if you're playing 1440p or 1080p even, this is more than enough. But let's go ahead and see if it powers on first, because the other one did not. Here we go, moment of truth. Oops, forgot to hit on. Moment of truth. Ooh, really nice airflow. And it's pretty quiet too, listen. Now let's go ahead and go over those gaming numbers right now. And here are those performance numbers. Using Cinebench, we're able to test out the CPU and its multi-score, which total a 662, and the single score scored barely 100. It scored 101. In other words, this will perform okay in video editing programs, but don't expect much. Turn back on the LEDs. But when it comes to the gaming scores for FPS, for Cyberpunk at 1440p, it was able to float around close to 50 FPS. But in my opinion, it was kind of unplayable as it was causing a lot of screen tearing. But at 1080p, this thing runs close to 60 FPS in the ultra setting, no issues, as it scored an average 62 FPS. Then we also boot up Fortnite, 1440p, was easily able to go slightly over 100 FPS, even when there was a lot of action going on, as it was averaging about 115 FPS. And then at 1080p resolution, same settings, graphic settings and everything else, it was easily able to hover around 170 FPS. Apex, no issues whatsoever. Even at 1440p at high settings, it was easily able to go slightly over 200 FPS as I got 212. And then at 1080p, easily able to go 252 FPS. So even though it's not recommended a game with the 5060, at 4K, it can handle it. Just don't expect great performance. You're better off sticking to 1080p, and this thing is a monster. And this thing can run it all easily, no issues, even AAA titles. Now, I know I stated earlier that the fan isn't too loud. This is how it sounds like on idle. I guess when I first turned it on, it was still in the booting first time process, so it wasn't at normal RPM speed, but this is how it is normally. It's pretty loud in my opinion for a fan unit. But after running all those bench scores, the max temperature on the CPU was just under 71 Celsius. A little bit hotter than liquid cooled. For example, I've been able to see 67 Celsius. 70 Celsius still is reasonable, so not too bad. Really does do a good job cooling, even with the lack of fans above here. Now, if you guys been enjoying this video so far, if you could kindly take 2 seconds and hit that like button, those truly do help out the channel, because I don't know if you noticed this, but this channel is not sponsored by anything really. I like to actually go out my way and actually buy these products out of pocket, avoiding the brand, because typically they ask for like a preview or an unlisted video, then they ask for some edits. I don't like doing that, and thanks to you guys, we don't have to do that. So because of you guys, by just hitting the like button, we don't have to revolve around brands, and I just go out my way and buy these things out of pocket and review the product as it is. So thank you to those that took the time on supporting the channel by just hitting that like. Let's carry on. But now let's go ahead and talk about the specs that this CyberPower pre-built computer is using and how much it will cost us to build it ourselves versus buying it directly through Walmart. See if there's any cost savings. So the tower on this CyberPower PC seems like it's an OEM. CyberPower actually makes this themselves in-house for this computer in particular, so I wasn't able to find a cost for this tower, but I did manage to find a similar tower, and that is the Y40, and it's currently on sale for $99. So the tower is roughly around $100. And then the AMD Ryzen 5 8400F, a 6-core CPU, is currently on sale on Amazon for $159. And now I wasn't able to find this CPU cooler in particular from CyberPower, but as a nice substitute, I took the Evo 212, and it's currently on sale for $19. Now the motherboard that this pre-built is actually using is an MSI Pro B650P, and this is currently selling on Amazon for $159. This does have built-in Wi-Fi 6E, and it is using the latest Bluetooth 5.3, which is quite impressive. It is the relevant, not Wi-Fi 7, but 6E is still good enough. And I like the fact that it gives you freedom to upgrade additional storage, as there is a second slot for M.2 SSD, as I previously showed you. And as soon as RAM prices go down, you could easily make this into a true dual RAM system. Now, as for the RAM, with RAM prices being ridiculously high, the Triforce one that this one has, the 6000 CL30, it's not sold separately, but I found this one in the meantime to take its place, and it's selling for $166. Also an RGB RAM stick, but this one's from CoStar. Equivalent specs, 6000, so $166 would be the cost for a single 16 gig RAM stick. Now storage, it is using the MSI M470 1TB, which is sold out everywhere, but I was able to find a seller on Amazon that's listing at $161. And then as for the GPU is indeed a MSI RTX 5060 with 8GB of VRAM, and it's currently on sale for $289. Then for the PCU, the power supply, I found the PVIA non-modular 600 watt 80 plus gold certified power supply, and actually sells for $51.99. So tallying up all those prices, not including Windows 11 Home that this machine is included with, as well as 3 additional 130mm RGB fans. If we were to build this computer ourselves, it's going to cost $1,000 and about $3. So yes, there are some savings going with the pre-built versus building and buying each of these components individually, and that's not including taxes. So this is not a bad deal, especially currently with the increase of prices for not just RAM, but also SSDs as well. Hopefully this does not become the norm with AI using all these components. So if you're planning on buying a pre-built PC and this is within your range and you're okay playing games, AAA titles in 1080p, this is not a bad deal. Although it does lack the dust filters, mesh filters above here and the bottom, you could just install that yourself. There's a lot of kits, pre-cut ones that are available on Amazon. You can just slide on. They're pretty cheap and inexpensive. And as for the VRM heat sinks for the motherboard, you could buy like a kit for like 10 bucks and install it yourself. That's what I typically do with some of these pre-built computers before I gift them to my like friends and family. There's this one. This is the one I typically will purchase. It comes everything included, including the glue to make them stick on. And then just buy a heatsink for your M.2 SSD, which also costs around the same $10 price tag. But other than that, there you guys have it. That is the quick breakdown on everything you need to know about this pre-built computer. If you're planning on picking one up, I'll be sure to include affiliate links in the description down below. They don't cost you anything extra. They just send a small kickback to the channel, and they're directly through Walmart, so which means they will be automatically updated on any deals and sales that's going on. So be sure to click on the product link in the description, so you don't miss out on this excellent deal before it sells out like it does on my other videos. So make sure you act fast before these are gone if you're looking for something like this. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you'd like to watch more, maybe you'd like to check out that $1,200 pre-built computer. If it goes back on sale, check it out right over there on the little side card. Thank you so much for watching.